Love is spiritual, not natural. You ever think about that? This is absolutely miraculous. With love, you get the results now. Hi, I'm Dr. Alex Loyd, and welcome to Deep Water. This week I wanted to discuss for a few minutes another issue that is very controversial out in the marketplace, has been for quite some time, and that's the issue of euthanasia, or another name it's called right to die, which is primarily the debate over whether people who have a very painful terminal illness and the terminal outcome part cannot be changed according to medical science. They're going to die no matter what we do. And usually a second condition, the pain and discomfort that they're in cannot be alleviated. So the end is certain, it appears, and until the end, they're going to be in suffering, agony, and pain. The debate is, should we legally allow those people to, maybe with a doctor's assistance, take a drug overdose or some other medical, chemical way in their life and in their suffering, and speed up the terminal conclusion that was there all the time. I've taken a look at 9 different issues related to this, or you might say boiled it down to 9 different issues. And with each issue, there's a pro and a con. And so let's get started. The number one issue for me, it doesn't mean it's the most important, but the first one of the 9 is about legalization of euthanasia. And the pro argument for that is it's simply personal choice. Okay? I should have the right to choose what affects my body, my health, my life. This is a similar argument to the pro-choice about abortion, although some different, because you're dealing with a fetus inside the mother versus a grown, mature person. All right? But the pro is its personal choice. The con is that legalizing this and doing it can devalue the life of others who are in a similar situation, where maybe their relatives are like, okay, well, why don't we end this now, even if the person who's involved, who is dying, who is in pain, would rather not go that way, okay? And it can actually increase those people's pain who choose not to die assisted. It can increase their pain because they know, okay, I could end this right now. And it can put them in a mental, psychological, and relational, almost kind of a double bind. All right? So that's the pro and the con on that as far as legalization. Legalization, as far as the medical part of it is concerned, is my number 2. And the pro in that is that most medical doctors, when polled, say they would be in favor of euthanasia if the suffering cannot be alleviated. The con of that argument is that that is not a doctor's role, okay, to administer death. That is not a doctor's role, and we're getting into gray and maybe even some black area if we start giving doctors the right to determine life and death. It's just simply not their role, is the con perspective. Number 3 is the legalization related to lawmakers and the things that they're concerned about. The pro is that a person in that situation should be given an option rather than just horrible, painful, torturous suffering for who knows how long. My mother died of liver cancer at the age of 69. And when she died, she looked like a pregnant skeleton. Literally. It was one of the most gruesome, unbelievable things I've ever seen. She looked very similar to Holocaust survivors. No, I mean, those who died in the Holocaust. When you see those old black and white films and the bodies were just sort of piled up, that's how she looked. She looked like a pregnant skeleton. So the pro for the lawmakers is someone in that situation should be given an option. The con is that if we pass these laws, it can have a detrimental effect, pressuring the dying people who don't choose euthanasia. Okay? The 4th issue for me is regarding groups who are vulnerable if this law were to be passed in a sweeping general way. Okay? The pro on this one with vulnerable groups is that the fears related to this appear to be unjustified based on the research. The con of this is that insurers will deny benefits if people choose this way to end their life. So if someone has a $1 million insurance policy and they're in suffering and pain, and the person and the family all decide that this is what is best, they may do that, but then the result may be that the insurers deny the claim, and now the whole family is thrown into poverty. Okay, so that's one of the cons of related to vulnerable groups. The 5th issue is the oath, the Hippocratic oath that a doctor takes and vows to uphold. The pro on that is that they vowed to help people. Period. The con is that in that oath, it says do no harm. So, on the one hand, helping someone not be in pain anymore, that sounds like you are helping people. But when the way you get them out of pain is to administer death, wait a minute, you made an oath to never do any harm. So is death not harm? Okay, the 6th issue is related to the legal right, a person's legal right. And the pro, of course, is similar to the pro of our number 1, and that is a right to choose. Okay? An individual person should have a right to choose. The con of that is, again, doctors deciding on life or death. And so maybe you have one doctor who does that in a very conservative and spiritual even way, and they're not going to do it unless it is like no other choice. All right? That's it. But on the other hand, maybe there's another doctor who it's not necessarily a totally done deal. The person might reverse, or their pain is not that bad, okay? But do you still have a doctor, even if it's not the only choice, making that choice because the doctor has been given the legal right to make it? Okay? Number 7 is the argument that if we change our laws and allow this, boy, we have just started up a very slippery slope that could have all kinds of unintended consequences. The pro on the slippery slope argument says that based on the research, that's unfounded and unlikely to happen. It's kind of like saying, because you had a drink, you are going to get drunk. Well, that's not true at all. I mean, they might get drunk, but they very well might not get drunk at all. May just have that one drink. You can't make that, you can't, that's too big a leap. You can't say that, all right, for sure, and know that you're right. The con on the slippery slope argument is that it introduces the possibility that something similar would be applied to certain infants, the mentally ill, the elderly, people with bad disabilities, etc., and that maybe 20, 30 years from now, this becomes a domino effect, and we all of a sudden have a society that we don't hardly even recognize anymore. Okay? Number 8 is back to the physician again. And the pro is the physician's obligation is to help, and that alleviating the pain, allowing them to die with dignity when the outcome is insured, no matter what happens, would be helping. The con is that it's the physician's job to heal only, and if we take that even further, it's the opposite of euthanasia. They made a vow to stave off death as best they can. So if we basically rewrite the Hippocratic Oath to now it's not just help and alleviate pain and stuff like that, it's really whatever you decide. You can now determine life and death. That, oh boy, are we going to like our physicians 30, 40 years from now if that gets out of control? The pro says, based on the research, it shouldn't get out of control, but we've all heard that before about things that did ultimately unwind and lead to something negative and unforeseen. And the last issue that I found at trying to boil them down is money. The pro related to money is that it's not an issue. It's that Oregon is one of the places where this is legal, and 92% of the people who have exercised their right to die in Oregon have been people who would have been classified as poor. Okay? And the money argument is that this will tilt things to people with money. Okay? They're the ones that can fight for their life to the end. The poor people will just let them go on and die because they can't pay. Or the people with money are the people who can buy euthanasia, whether it's legal or not, where the poor can't. All right? And then the con of that is if we do this, how is that going to evolve with insurance companies? Are they going to get to a place where they start denying life-saving procedures because they determine that extended care is going to be very expensive, euthanasia is going to be very inexpensive, and the outcome will be the same either way? So they deny life-saving or life-extending or pain-reducing care on the grounds that we're going to have the same result anyway, and the euthanasia is much cheaper. Similar to what we see in a lot of situations already out there. Like one insurance company says, well, with the insurance plan you have that you're not paying very much for, this procedure would not be approved. But for this person who is maybe a lot more well off financially and they're paying more for their health insurance and it's considered a better policy, for them that life extending care is covered. We see that right now, all right? And we see it all over the place. I hear about something related to that almost every single week. Well, if this were legalized, would it lead in 10 years, 20 years, who knows, to that sort of a domino effect situation where insurance companies start denying care in favor of the much cheaper euthanasia? So to me, those are the 9 sort of big issues when you distill everything down. And each one of them has a pro, a positive, a con, a negative. So again, as I've been saying over and over and over, I believe my job and yours is to love at all times, to love everyone, no matter how they act or don't act toward me. And part of loving means to not judge. Okay? So I believe anyone choosing euthanasia in a situation where it appears they are terminally ill and nothing's going to change that and they're in horrible pain that cannot be alleviated, I'm in favor of them having a choice only in that extreme situation, okay? And it not being the doctor's choice, it only being the patient's choice, okay? And maybe even there would be some sort of a middleman, almost like an arbiter, who would make sure that the physician is not unduly influencing this toward euthanasia and pressuring the person, that they are making, honestly, what they absolutely believe in their heart is right and best for them in this situation. And only in extreme situations. Okay? Someone just depressed or, has cancer, but there's a good chance they'll recover. That kind of person saying, I want to exercise right to die. I do believe that should be illegal. It should only be toward these extreme situations. It should be up to the person. We should have some way to ensure that they are of right mind and are making a good, reasonable choice for them, that the doctor, the doctor's choice is not involved in that. The only thing from the doctor is relevant information giving both sides of that relevant information to the patient. Okay? But I think we would also need, if that became law, some sort of legal assurance that if people do this by the law, that the insurance companies cannot refuse benefits And to other people in the same situation, it would be illegal for the insurance company to refuse benefits, to extend life, reduce pain and suffering, etc. But again, I'm speaking about something that I'm not an expert on. We need serious people to solve these serious issues, and those serious people need to gather all of the facts, look at it without pride and prejudice, prayerfully, meditatively, with multiple opinions from all different people until we can come to a win-win-win-win, as best we can, solution. So this is a big issue in the world today. The places where it's available are spreading. And so this is becoming more and more of a hot issue as that spread continues and more people are in that situation. And especially people who live in places where it's illegal deciding, okay, well, do I break the law and continue to be in this torturous pain with the same result? Do I incognito, put on a disguise or something and go to a place where it's legal? Okay, that feels kind of weird and not a great way to die. Or can it happen with dignity and closure with my family and not having to hide and maybe even being made into a beautiful situation? My last bottom line on this as a follower of Jesus is that I could never make this decision if it was me unless I prayed and felt like God was telling me, yes, do this. Because I believe this is not my life. It belongs to God. I've given it to Him. After He gave it to me, I've given it back to Him. So before I kill this body that's not mine, for me, Alex, I need His approval. That may not be true for you, but I had to share that. So anyway, give us your feedback, comments. This is a big issue. I've only shared a little kind of condensed Reader's Digest version. But let's start talking about these things that matter and be the better for it. Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful, blessed day.